Hey, what's up guys? So the March 1st ban list is out on the official Yu-Gi-Oh!-card.com. So it was the list that was posted on Streak. But anyways, we're going to be going over the list and kind of have a little bit of a discussion about, why certain cards were hit. And we're going to talk about what decks could be still viable for the, upcoming next format. So first off, we're going to go over Sangan. He's a card that was really old. Now when you go tour guide into, tour guide or tour bus, night ascent, whatever card you might want to replace Sangan with, or you could just definitely play two tour guides. The thing is, now when you go tour guide, you summon tour guide and you go for something, you're most likely going to be going for an XYZ. So it makes the game more oriented around tour guide to go for XYZ, not tour guide Sangan, sit on Sangan, add rescue rabbit, and then wreck your opponent the next turn. So, that's a move to make, XYZs, more so played rather than tour guide Sangan, and then next turn sack Sangan for Caius and banish from someone's monster. So that's the reason why I believe Sangan was hit. Plus Sangan serves out rescue rabbit. Rescue rabbit is a really nasty card anyways. But next up, we have Wind-Up Carrot Zen Mighty. Now, I think Wind-Ups are still a very viable deck. People are going to have to try to learn the other combos that Wind-Ups can potentially do now. I've seen them build with Wind-Up Solemn and the MX Saber Invoker, but I believe that you could still definitely play just straight Wind-Ups. People are going to have to figure out what combos work, but since Magician is still legal, it's at 1, but it's still legal, you can just do some shenanigans. When you have if you have a factory, a rabbit on board, and shark in hand, you can still do shenanigans with Magician because Magician, you can use its effect multiple times. All you have to do is go activate Rabbit's effect, banish it, Levier, get back the Magician, and then you can use Shark's effect and then get another monster, make more stuff. And as long as Rat is there and Rabbit is there, Factory still at 3. I still think Wind-Ups are a very viable deck. There might not be as many players playing them, but perhaps once people realize that they're still good, I think that definitely they have some potential to still be able to top. And plus, you can still do a lot of nasty combos. Even if you open up with Magician Shark, you can still do some good stuff. Although without Zen Mighty, it kind of limits your options of how derpy your plays can be with just 2 cards. Now you're gonna have to use 3, or you might have to wind up Rabbit for a few turns to get out your key pieces. Kind of like how X Sabers have to search for the Fall Troll and the Bogger Knight, and then they can spam the field. So definitely not as fast as they were before, but with Factory at 3 still and Rabbit at 3, you can still add the pieces to potentially use your combos later on. But next up, what do we have? We got the TG. No. We wish. I still think Striker should be it too. Why is Striker even there? But anyways, Wind Up Magician. Now this is interesting because they already hit Zen Mighty, but I definitely think it's a good move. I thought this card was the card potentially to get. It was either this or Shark. I thought one of them was gonna get banned, and if one of those got banned, I think the deck would hurt a lot. But Shark is still at 3, and that allows you to quickly make an XYZ for whatever situation you need, and you can just get over something, and that is something that some decks lack. And I definitely think that you can still abuse Magician because, like I said, you can banish it with Rabbit, get it back Levier, and then change the level of Shark and still do some shenanigans. But opening up with Magician Shark won't be as often because Magician is at 1, but you can still search for it. So I still think the Wind-Ups will be viable, like I mentioned. Next card, One Day of Peace. Thank you so much. This is one card I've really been excited that it was actually hit because I don't like watching my opponent play solitaire. It's not fun for the other player. It really isn't. I've tried the Blue Eyes Exodia. I think the Blue Eyes Exodia is the best variant of Exodia, and it makes decks like Final Countdown and stuff like that not be as annoying because honestly, it's not that engaging for both players to play when one player is playing a deck where they just kind of activate everything as fast as they possibly can, and then the other player doesn't really get to play at all. Even though, let's be honest, if you're playing the Mono Mermails now, if you're playing against that deck OTKs you so fast, and you're just well, I can't really do anything, and then they're dropping a Bisgaios, and on your turn, even if you drop a Gorz, you can't attack with Gorz, you can't activate. Well, they have basically one free effect builder, if you want to call it that, because of Bisgaios. But yeah, it's still a pretty fast game, but at least you have more of a chance, and at least you get an attempt. Whereas some decks that play the triple 1 day piece, you don't even get a chance to activate anything. But next up, we have Solemn Warning Limited. Now that's an interesting choice because the way I looked at it was it doesn't really affect me too much. But sometimes when one player opens up with double warning, it's like, oh, I didn't even get to summon, I didn't get to play, and I think that is a good move. However, like I still like agents. I think agents are a very viable deck. Like nothing got touched in agents. I was like, yes, nothing got touched. Well, Sangan kind of hurts because I can't search out that earth sometimes. But sometimes I don't even care. Like you warning me, I'm 100% okay with that because I'm just going to drop another Hyperion, blow up your monster, and now that you've activated 2 warnings, I can just game you. Or I can drop, Christia. Like there's so many things in certain decks where you can just drop multiple boss monsters, and if your opponent is playing warning, you can win because they've already paid that 4,000 life points from double warning. But I think it's a good move because definitely one player that opens up with double warning early on in the game, it's just like, oh, I can't play anything. You summon, no warning. And it's very discouraging, and I think that was a good move. Next up, we are going to be talking about Thunder King Ryo being semi-limited. Now, that is really interesting because most players that play in the competitive scene usually just main deck 2. Sometimes they'll side the 3rd. Thunder King was a very good card against windups. Windups are kind of hurt now. But, I was wondering, did they really put Thunder King at 2 just because of that spellbook Divine Judgment? That's kind of a mean thing to do because I feel like Thunder King, he's an anti-meta card. Anti-meta hasn't exactly topped straight anti-meta with Doom Cows or something like that. It's an anti-meta card. It's probably one of the best anti-meta cards in the game, and there are so many decks that don't care about it. I was thinking, 6 Samurais are making a comeback kind of because Smoke Signal's at 3, so maybe that's why they put Thunder King. But at the same time, most of the time you just play 2 Thunder Kings anyways, so it's an interesting thing that they're doing. To put Thunder King at 2. I just think that's interesting. I personally don't think it's going to really affect the game too much. And then we have Tsukiyomi at 2. You can put Tsukiyomi at 5. That card doesn't do anything. I've said it so many times that card is not broken. It can go to 3 and it wouldn't do anything. And what happened? It came back to 1. Oh, what YCS deck top with it? I don't recall any. I think I might have seen a few people side deck it, but they're like, nah, I didn't even use it because realistically, it hits Dark Arm. That's about the best thing it can do. It can attack over Dark Arm Dragon, and that's about it. Now we have Advanced Ritual Art. Now, certain decks, like Herald, are very annoying to play against, which I don't like. No one really likes to play against Herald, let's be honest. Unless you have, a bigger monster out before they can get out Herald. But Herald is a very annoying deck to play with. It's just negate, negate, negate. It's like, oh, are you playing Stardust Assault mode? It's very annoying to deal with, a Herald. But, it gives those other, random ritual decks, like Demise King, it gives that, a better chance. But, you still have to run those normal monsters. So maybe we'll see some players try to put Advanced Ritual Art plus, the Rabbit in. It'd be interesting. I don't know if you would have to play, so many targets to the point where, you just keep on drawing them, which would kind of be bad, but it's interesting. But lastly, what do we have? We have Kalute, at 3 now, which is interesting. I think if Blackwings want to be meta, they really need to have Gale. Gale is a card that they can, it makes it much faster because the problem is with sometimes with at least summoning, you don't get your monster out and they just game you. And the problem with, even though you have Kalute at 3, decks like Mermails just don't care. They'll just pop everything you have, or Big Eyes steal your monster. You don't have to worry about that, and you're just like, oh, well, I don't have a monster, so Kalute's not viable. But what Kalute does it allows Blackwings to be a little bit faster as far as OTKing, because you can just attack and then be like, oh, damage step, drop double, triple Kalute, and they lose it, and it's kind of discouraging. And then we have Lumina at 3, which Lightsworn, to be honest, they've been getting a little bit more because Lumina was at 1, then it went to 2, then now it's at 3. If they want to make Lightsworn good, just put Honest at 3 or Charge Lightbreed. Just make the deck super fast. Because what good does Lumina do? There's the Lumina Geralt play, but how good is that compared to Divine Judgment Spellbow add 20 cards at the end phase? Not really. And then we have Spore. Why was Spore even limited in the first place? You can only use effective Spore once per duel, so I don't know that reason. And then we have Shin Smoke Signal at 3, which means Samurais will be seeing a little bit more of a comeback. Everyone thought Gateway was going to hit because of the what is that? The Constellar card that is out, or is it? I think it's a Constellar. Anyways, there's one card that lets you, if you have Gateway plus any cards that let you put the counters on, you can loop your opponent, and loops are not very fun. But let's be honest though, if you open up with Gateway, you win pretty much anyways. So that's the way I look at it. And then we have Mind Crush at 3. which is interesting. I don't think anyone's really going to side 3. I think like 2 is sufficient. Mind Crush is definitely a good card. Like against Samurais, you can Mind Crush. Against like the Mermails, you can Mind Crush Abyss Megalo, and that's still going to be a very viable deck. So at the moment, as far as OCG goes, I was interested. It was interesting to see that they did not hit Fire Fist, because Fire Fist are the decks that they love to play. Also, the Ophion like wrecks like half the meta, but Ophion, I mean, the Evil Swarms are still going to be a very viable deck, even though we haven't really got to play it yet. But it's going to be a viable deck. I think Agents are still definitely very viable. You summon Christia, and again, like half the game can't even handle Christia. So I think Agents are still going to be good. I think lineups will be good. People are going to have to figure out the combos. They're going to have to figure out like what ways can you still do the abuse of combos. Like you can do it with Summoner Monk, like I mentioned, but you have to go to like Wind Up Soldier. And I just think it's more viable just to just set up your combos. Play it more like a deck where you have to set up your combos rather than just. Magician Shark, I win. Now it's like you gotta have to go Factory Rabbit, add this, and then now Mind Crush is at 3. You can definitely side deck Mind Crush against Windups too, because when they go for the Shark, they have to reveal it. So you just go, oh, it's cool, you have Shark, or you can chain Maxi at that point as well. That definitely hurts Windups a little bit more. I think Windups took the biggest hit. Obviously, I want Plants to come back. Like why are you putting Spore at 3? Like put Glow Ball back at 1. Like do something for Plants, because Spore realistically doesn't do anything at 3. Like I don't know, is someone really gonna just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna run 3 Spore so I can get it in the graveyard as fast as possible by maybe milling it and then using the effect once? It doesn't look too viable to me. Even just like a Lone Fire at 2, which realistically wouldn't do anything for Plants. What they need is Glow Bulb. Glow Bulb coming back would make Plants definitely way more viable. But yeah, I think as far as the decks, I still think that are good. Fire Fist, Fire Kings, those are still good. Rekindling didn't get hit, which was interesting for me as well. I thought that card was going to get hit, but and maybe right before Lavals come out for TCG, they'll be like, oh, it's cool, Rekindling's hit. It's cool. We left Rekindling untouched until we are fully releasing the Lavals, which is kind of a mean thing to do. But yeah, I definitely think Rekindling is a card that will get hit in the future. Like hands down, that card is reborn for as many cards as you want. It's not very fair. But yeah, Fire Kings, Fire Fist, those decks are still going to be good. Spellbooks are going to be really good. Mermail's still very viable. Billy Break just topped with it. And, a lot of players are playing that. That's like a really popular deck right now. But, at large-scale tournaments, there might not be that many players playing it because it is an expensive deck compared to something like Fire Kings, which is a pretty decent deck as well. I think Agents are still good. Chaos Dragons, well, I mean, you lost Sangan, but that doesn't really hurt them too much because you can't search out like the monsters that you usually want to get out anyways, but it definitely does put that dark, and then you can add like an Honest or like a Hand Trap, which is always nice. But I still think Chaos Dragons are pretty viable. I just think that Chaos Dragons versus like the really popular decks like Fire Fist and stuff like that, they do kind of lack some of the consistency because you're milling cards. You don't have control over what exactly happens. Whereas someone, if they go like, oh, it's cool, let me just activate Macrocosmos, and like that deck kind of hurts a lot when you have Macro on the field. But Macro Rabbit is still a very, very viable deck. Nothing got touched in that, which, I didn't expect anything really to get touched in that. Like, they're not going to put Logia at 1. I mean, you get out Logia once, and you have superior advantage over the field anyways, and then you can still make, like, any rank 4. But, yeah, I still think Macro Rabbit's still very viable. I'm trying to think of all the meta decks at the moment. I pretty much covered, like, the top decks before this list were definitely Macro Rabbit and Windups and Mermails. And Fire Fist is a little bit new, but that deck is definitely viable as well. So, Spellbooks are definitely going to be good. As long as Divine Judgment doesn't get that change, like that word change, I don't know. I still think it's going to be a bad format because, like, adding, 10, 12 cards during the end phase and then being able to banish, like, a whole bunch of stuff, chaining the Spellbook of Fate during the end phase, like, that could be really nasty. But we'll see how it goes, and I'm interested to see, what decks will come out in the future that will make use of perhaps some of the stuff that was at 3. Like, I don't know. I still think Blackwings will see some play because OCG, they love Blackwings. I like how they kept on releasing Blackwing support, and then like most of it was like not even that good. They already released like a bad Kalut, and they released a bad Gale. It was like was it Breeze? It was like you can when you add it with Whirlwind, you can special summon it and Tuner. It's like no. You need Gale because Gale halves and you can special summon at any time. But yeah, I definitely think that Gale is the card that they need definitely because you can OTK much faster. But some support better than none. But anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know what decks you guys want to play. For me, I always switch decks, but I don't know. I always go back to Agents because Christia is like the card that you just drop it and you win, and you can run multiple Hyperion. You can throw too much like boss monsters out, and plus like BLS and Honest in the same deck is always unfair. But anyways, thanks for watching. I personally think that this might be an interesting format, but I don't know. Macro Rabbit's still going to be a pretty dominant deck in my opinion. But anyways, thanks for watching. Agent Ice signing out.